But then it depends. For them, they want to make sure that you are doing other things. You are paying tenement rates, you are paying your bills and all that before they can hand that out. But then if you have to, you need to buy it because it's actually something that will earn you some stuff. You don't, like Femi said, you don't have to always ask something to be given to you free. Don't make it a government responsibility. All of us are responsible. And if we are all responsible, it will affect us. Those people that their homes were flooded, I'm sure if they were told to just buy beans, they would have done it just to make sure. But they've lost property and some lives were also lost. So don't wait for government, please. If you want to wait for if you want government to action, go on platforms now as young people. Use the platforms well. Don't go there cursing government. It doesn't make any sense. Cursing them out. Be able to project objectively what you want to say, and you'll be surprised they will listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okono. One more thing, for those of you who are students, majority of you here are students, you don't need to wait for anyone to give you a recycle bin or provide a recycle bin. What you can do practically as students, organize yourselves in your hostels and get a container. And you can tell your flatmates or hostel mates and tell them, this is for plastic bottles. And as soon as you're done with the water, you drop it. Let your friends know where to drop it. It's very practicable. So you don't need anyone to provide a recycle bin. Just get a large enough container, put it somewhere in a corner where everyone can see it, and label it yourself and tell them when you're done with your plastic bags, your plastic bottles, drop it here. It's as simple as that. Okay, so next question is for Jennifer. This is interesting. Can we have a green economy without inclusivity of women's rights, LGBT rights, and other humanitarian rights?
Well, the question answers itself. Inclusivity is about carrying everybody along, so you just can't. Everybody has to be involved, regardless of gender, regardless of class, regardless of anything, race, all of that. So you want to carry everybody along, yeah.
Okay. This next question, Mazi Okono actually prompted it. I'm sure you saw the reception when you were showing the Nike video on plastics turning into bottles. A lot of people have seen dollar signs and they want to, there are people here that want to start, they've gathered 7 bottles, they want to make a jersey next week. So the question is this, what is the process of turning plastic bottles into jerseys?
All right. Very
seriously?
Very interesting question. It would be very bad if I didn't get that out of here. But it's a very simple process. The idea is that at the moment, it will surprise you that there are factories, I will tell you, Chinese factories, Indian factories, Lebanese factories, and even coming up, Nigerian factories, own factories, that are now in the country, and they are involved in the processing of these plastic bottles, and they convert them to raw materials that can now be exported. So the idea is for us to be able to sensitize and start a call for action for us to be able to collect these items. There are a lot of companies out there. There is Recycle Points, there is Recyclers, there is Green Hill Recycling, there is EcoPrune. A lot of companies are actually up and involved, and you also can be involved. Let me say this. Let's imagine this. How many of you understand that we have clearly major beverage companies? For instance, Coca-Cola. Can you ask yourself how many bottles of Coke, Sprite, Fanta, 7-Up are produced on a daily basis? I'm not talking about the table water now and the Nestoland. So it's a lot. The market is huge. So the idea is go on the net, start doing a research about who uses these materials. A lot of materials are available. People are out there.
You begin to localize it. So we look at the SDGs, we look at no poverty, we look at no hunger. We want to look at what government is doing and advocate it and tell people, give them the numbers, give them the facts. one way or the other, we're tapping into making it work, because when people know the problems, they are inspired to actually get action and start doing something. So advocacy is a very easy way. Social media is there for you to talk about these issues, and then you position yourself. You become like an activist and giving yourself the visibility in the right thing, basically. And then when you move from advocacy, you're immersed in the circle. You know everything that is happening, because this is what you're dreaming about every time. How can we get the SDGs to work? One way or the other, an idea will fall on your lap. You have partners, you have people who have seen what you've done over time. When we celebrated 1 year of Sostivice, people were so surprised, like, how were you people able to have done all of this within 1 year? But that's because we took these SDGs as something we need to drive home. Think up ideas, anything, let's start putting it there. And they are low-hanging fruits. We might not be able to make all the inventions, all of that, but the projects we can do right now with our resources, with our network, we have to do them, basically, rather than fold our hands and just wait for something to fall up or a capital or something. If you must save, save, because this is the greater future.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, our panel. You can have your seat now.
Can we give them a rousing round of applause, please? Thank you very much.
Not to forget, for those of you who are tweeting, taking the selfies, you can follow the Edge NG on all social media platforms. Remember, the hashtag is TEWS2017. Okay, so I'm just told now to invite the next speaker, and it kind of caught me unawares because I planned a very grandiose kind of invite for him because he is someone that I admire so much, and he's a leader in the branding industry. And well, there was a time I had hair like his, and I used to call him like my long distance uncle. Please put your hands together for Steve Babaiko. We can have his bio on the video stream now. Come on, you can do better. He's my uncle, so you have to give him a special round of applause.
So can we have the bio, please?
Steve Babaiko inspires and tutors youths on being self-reliant. He is a writer, consumer behavior analyst, brand development expert, motivational speaker, and founder of Extreme Music, a music record label company that is focused on developing young talents. He is an associate member of the Advertising Practitioner Council of Nigeria, APCON, currently the vice chairman for Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, AAAN, LAIF board, and also the current chairman, Public Relations Committee of the Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce. Please welcome Steve Babaiko.
Yeah, okay, much better. So good afternoon, everybody. Usually I don't know how to feel when I'm standing and I hear something about me being recited. It's almost like an out-of-body experience, but I'm always excited to be in the midst of young people like yourself, because I remember not too long ago, maybe a few years ago, when I came to Lagos for the first time. I was born in Kaduna, I grew up in Kaduna, and on June 8, 1995, I did what was probably one of the most craziest things I've ever done in my life. Where do I press it? Sorry. I did one of the most craziest things I've ever done in my life. I packed my bag, and I decided to come to Lagos. I came to Lagos not knowing where to stay. Until I got down at Ojota, I wasn't so sure what I was going to do with myself. So it took me about 2 hours to finally make up my mind, because I realized one of my uncles had once worked in a hotel called Doba Hotel, Mile 2, now known as Golden Tulip. To cut a long story short, I ended up squatting with the chef of that hotel for 2 years before I was finally able to raise money to rent my first apartment, number 8 Rewale Avenue in Okwebi. And that place was actually a very nice place. Really, really messed up, but nice. Yeah, you had to first walk on a wooden plank on top of a very big, huge, wide gutter. In which case, if you are coming to my house, I'll first advise you, please tread carefully where you are coming in, because if you fall into that gutter, it's your lucky day. And then, as soon as you open the gate, you see sea of people frying chin-chin in my compound. So you have to, like Moses, literally part that sea of chin-chin fryers. Then you go past, you see a banana plantation with lots of mosquitoes in there, and then you finally get to my door and you knock and you come in. But you know what's interesting is that as difficult and as challenging as those days were, sometimes, once in a long while, I actually miss them, because those were days when I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I made up my mind to join the advertising business in 1995, and since then, apart from music and entertainment, I think that's about one of the few things that I've done with my life. So just to stand before you today, before I even go further, one thing to assure you is that whatever dream, whatever aspirations you have as an individual, they are very valid. And you should never ever quit on those dreams. Once you understand that, the future belongs to you. Please, a big round of applause for yourself for even making time to come here today. It's been very interesting just listening to the speakers talk about the green economy. And when we talk about some of these things, when we talk about how technology and innovation has disrupted the old economic system, the old ecosystem that guides our life, some people think, in Nigeria, some people still think we're talking about 10 years ahead of time. Actually, we're talking about yesterday. Because some of the things that are going to affect our lives, or that are actually currently affecting our lives, we hear of them, but we are not so conscious of them to be early birds to participate early. I was at Bell's secondary school yesterday talking to some teenagers, and I was trying to sensitize them to the fact that the next slavery is not going to come with people putting chains around our necks or putting chains on our ankles. It's going to come because young guys in Asia, in India, in America are already developing algorithms that may lock us out of the next ecosystem. That is a form of slavery. In the old slave trade, they took you by force, took you to a plantation for you to work for nothing. In the next slavery, they are going to lock us out of the ecosystem that would rule our world. So the time to get on that bus is right now. Okay. I don't know where you were when the President of the United States pulled America out of the Paris Agreement. I don't know. I think I was probably in Cannes attending the Creativity Festival there. But you see, as much damage as that particular act may have done to the psyche of the world, what I find more interesting is that the rest of the world stood up in one accord and say, those that won't do it should not stand in the ways of those that want to do it. So I'm glad that the rest of the world is still going to go ahead and pursue that Paris Agreement to make sure that we save our planet. Now, when you talk about the green economy, where professionals like us come in is that having built that platform, having built a business around sustaining the planet and sustaining the economy, we still need to package it in a way and brand it that it becomes sustainable as a business. Because you see, there's no point in trying to create a green economy if the business models are not sustainable. Okay? So it's about profit, planet, and people. Okay, all those 3 P's. So, but also what I find very interesting in Nigeria today is that there's no time in my lifetime where I see more young people trying to get their hands dirty with trying out a business. I think that is really commendable. You see, because all the small businesses that sometimes we overlook are the engine room. That's the heartbeat of all of the major economies you see across the world. So I want to encourage you, while it is nice to go to the club and pop champagne and whatever, you know, let us not become the generation that only sings about Dangote not having 2 heads. Let us be the generation that's actually acting like we know that he doesn't have 2 heads. So I'm going to be talking to us today about creative branding for SME growth. I see these are broad principles that I've just like painted. So consider this thing. This is not me standing on stage trying to pontificate, but just to share from my little experience with you what you can do, no matter, and this you can customize for slightly bigger SMEs or smaller SMEs. So, like I rightly said, what is the role of SME and the economy? SMEs are the backbone of advanced economy, because if you look at all the big companies in America, be it GE, be it Amazon, Google, YouTube, how many of those big businesses do you really find in America? If you count it, there can't be more than 25, 30, 35. And if you look at all of those 35, you'll find that some of the biggest, like Apple, like Google, were not even in existence about 15 years ago. Okay? So these are new businesses that are keen into the new ecosystem and the way of doing business. So you find out the rest of the businesses that actually sustain a huge economy like America's maybe hire less than 50 to 100 people. So it means that those SMEs that sometimes we snigger at remains the backbone of developed economies. Well, according to U.S. Census Bureau data, business with less than 20 workers make up about 89.6% of total labor employers. That is huge. So you find businesses with just 20 workers, a laundry shop here, a whatever there. Those are the businesses that actually make the American economy tick. In here, because we always want to start big, we always underrate those small businesses. You can imagine if all of the businesses we always nigger at, we're able to brand them effectively, hire 20 people, pay salaries consistently, pay taxes out of that, our tax receipts will be even double or triple what we have today. Well, 97% of all businesses in Nigeria employ less than 100 employees. You see? Because most of the government still remains the biggest employer of labor in Nigeria. But you see, 100 employees or less make up the bulk of the private businesses you have. The SME sector provides an average 50% of Nigeria's employment and 50% of its industrial output. This is from the Federal Office of Statistics. Now, these are interesting, huge numbers. But it means that if we were to push it more and push the percentages up, we can even get higher output. Now, we live in a place where we are so focused on the past, we forget the future. And when I'm talking about the future, I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking about 2 days ago. We're already late to the party. Today, we still find militants in the creek carrying weapons, trying to talk about fuel and oil. The future for that is already gone. All of those battery-powered cars, once they become effective, we're finished. You see a small country like Qatar, what they've done is to say they had like maybe 20-year plan. Rewind to 20 years ago, they started planning for when that time will come. It's upon us. At the rate we're going, one day I won't be shocked if countries with oil will actually be looking for militants to actually bomb those installations, because those oil becomes useless to everybody. So what are the things we need to focus on that will help us move our economy forward? Well, if you talk about SMEs, because I also run a very small company. In my entire group, we hire about close to 100 people. We started August 1, 2012, and we've been taking one baby step after the other. Actually, in a couple of days, we're going to be 5 years old. So, and statistics says that in the first 5 years, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Statistics says after 5 years, you know whether a business is going to survive or die. The fact that we have not died means that actually we are the ones we're one of the few that survived. So let me share with you some of the challenges I've experienced. Basically, just to condense them: infrastructure, access to funding, structure and process. Those are the three that I say are the major. There are so many others. Infrastructure, just the way the last presenter was making a very valid point, and the light went off. Something as basic as that. We can't even have, NEPA still won't let us be great. We can't even have a decent conference and go all the way without light blinking. There are so many people out there whose life revolves around daily income. Maybe they are welders, they just need light for a lot of things. It's not happening because that power is not available. So what happens? Inadvertently, you swell the ranks of criminals, because this man, he's not able to work with the trade he knows. He needs to eat, he needs to pay his house rent, he needs to take his sick child to the hospital. Somebody comes and has a brilliant idea to say, let's go kidnap some students. Of course, he will likely go there. So you face infrastructural problems. Access to funding. There are so many ways to raise funds these days. I see young businesses raising funds. I still belong to that old school people who still create business the old-fashioned way by sweating for it. But there are so many brilliant and new ways where you can get angel investors, you can get portfolios investors to invest in your business, as long as the idea is viable. It can solve problems. You identify a niche problem you can solve. It's sustainable, and it can become profitable. I'm sure today there are more opportunities of raising funding than we used to have. Then the most important one, which we most likely will overlook, is structures and processes. I always say, I see more young people wanting to start business today. That is a very good thing. But in there also lies the trap. For someone like me, I worked for other agencies for like 17 years before I finally set up my business. So that by the time I set up Extreme Ideas, I know almost everything that is involved around the advertising business model. And actually, it was the experience I have knowing almost everything around the advertising business model that helped me to tweak that model and customize it for myself to achieve maximal results in 5 years. Unlike some people who have been kicking at this game for like 20 years and still haven't achieved as much as we have. So the danger, the booby trap for young people is that this eagerness to want to go and start a business without really understanding how to put up a structure, a process that will guide and discipline you when it comes to managing people, both human and material resources, is the danger we must watch out for. So this is the time to start going for internship, volunteer work. Just go and see how does it work, so that by the time you start your own business, you are not going to make certain mistakes that young people I see make every day. Now, why does branding matter? All of my grammar in the past couple of minutes, why does it even matter at all? And I'll tell you quickly why it does. We always shout about brand, oh, brand this, brand that, I'm a brand, blah, blah, blah. But what's interesting about a brand is that a brand is not what we say it is. It is what the consumers perceive it to be. You can go on television and create advertising and say, oh, well, Apple will not even allow you to start claiming things that you're not. But let's say you're able to get away with it and go on TV to start claiming, oh, I'm the best toothpaste since sliced bread. We are good, your teeth will be sparkling. You can only fool a consumer once. Let's say you're able to get one consumer who falls for that gimmick, goes and buys your toothpaste, and sees that it is the worst toothpaste since humanity started using toothpaste. You know what he's going to do in the age of social media? He's going to put it on Instagram, he's going to share it on Facebook, he's going to talk about it on Twitter, and most likely that brand will suffer more damage than an ordinary maybe shouldn't have. So it is not you telling the consumers that your brand is good. By the time you become a brand, it is the consumer saying this is what your brand is for. And you know how it gets even more interesting? Sometimes you create a brand to use for purpose A. The consumers are smart. They now use your brand for purpose B. You are shouting on television, I want to use this brand for A, but they are using it for B. And I'll tell you a quick story. There was one particular brand of analgesics for headache and body pain. I used to work on it as a young copywriter then. We noticed that that brand in the north, it was just going off the shelf. The client couldn't meet up with the demand in the north. So they kept on wondering, is it that the people in the north have a special headache different from those in the south? Why is our brand selling so much in the north? They sent a team of researchers to go there and just find out what was going on. Just guess what they found out. The northerners, the cattle men, were buying it and they would put it in water to give to their cattle to drink. And that's why it was taken off. So the owner of the brand will say it is for headache and body pain. The northerners will say we have heard you, but we want to use it for our cattle because it's good for them. So sometimes this brand gets out of your hand. You've created the brand, the consumer will decide what they want to call it. So I'll give us a cheap and cheerful branding tips. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask for you guys to pay. Be a social networker. In the age of social media, ideas and branding and any kind of communication has been totally democratized. It means that anybody can be unknown yesterday. In 3 days, you can become well known. Who saw the video of the dancing senator? Let me see your hands up. Actually, in 2011, Davido had already sang about Ijo Babashino Rambo. We didn't know what he was talking about until we now finally saw the video. Before that video came out, how many people know that gentleman? That is the power of social media today, ladies and gentlemen. So it means that you can use it for whatever means, whatever you want. You choose what you want to do with it. And sometimes it's not even you choosing what you want to do with it. You inadvertently set out chain of events that now lifts you from obscurity to national limelight in 2 days. How many of you knew of Bobrisky like 3 years ago?